We are adults. Let us talk with each other and let us not talk at each other. Let us build consensus. Let us identify our enemy. Let us identify our goal. And we march forward together as a people so that we build that Kenya which works for all of us, not some of us. Let us ask ourselves, how did social media, how did X in particular and TikTok work in Pakistan, work in the US, work in these people who just removed Assad? How did they use social media to win? What can we learn from them? Let us agree to learn from others so that we better our strategy and we move forward. Victory is a very sweet thing. Victory gives people hope. But the moment we start let me just land, but let us look for a way to work together. For 2025, that will be my plea. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony, for the powerful submission. Before I go to the next set of speakers, I think you raised a very, very important point. I absolutely agree that our inability to unite as the oppressed has been our greatest weakness. I think we have watched our adversaries come together, put their differences aside, align for their collective benefits. Meanwhile, we remain often divided across or along petty lines, forgetting the power that unity can bring to our cause. I think I agree with your call for 2027. It should not just be another year marked on the calendar. I think it should be a rallying point for action, strategy, and change. I think we have the numbers, the vision, and the capacity to chart a different course. But I think that can only happen if we put our differences aside and work as one. I think so. I agree with you. Let's focus more on building coalitions, mobilizing our communities, setting clear goals that resonate with the oppressed. Let 2027 be a year where you show the true strength and the unity. And create the change we have been yearning for. Another critical point that we cannot ignore, actually, that you also pointed out, is deplatforming each other. Is one of the biggest setbacks we face, I think. How can we talk about unity and collective action when we are actually silencing voices within our own rank? What exactly our opponents count on? Our inability to tolerate differing opinions within the movement. I think we must stop attacking or canceling or sidelining those who may not fully align with our perspective, but is still part of the broader struggle. Debate and dialogue, I think, are healthy, as you said, but silencing each other only weakens us. Let's redirect that energy towards holding the true oppressors accountable and building a unified front. I think the fight is bigger than any one of us, I think. So I agree with your call on 2027 would be a year we embrace our differences and harden the diversity of ideas for stronger and more resilient movement. I think if Bonnie is ready, I'll bring in Bonnie. If Bonnie is still there, I'll bring Bonnie, and then we go to, after that, we can go to Nothing K, and then we go to academia. Bonnie, over to you if you are ready, or the speakers can go ahead. Let me know. Thank you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, so I'll just try to be brief. I wanted to give context as to why I see, I talked about the fact that I don't see much to celebrate, and I appreciate Redempta and all the other speakers that have very encouraging words. I needed that today because I woke up not feeling very well when I look at what's happening. I'm the first one to admit that I may have tunnel vision. And the reason for that is because I focus on things that I can explain. I'm a numbers guy. In my view, math does not lie. Numbers tell the story as it is. Because of my strong conviction that our country has no future when corruption is allowed to take place at the levels that we are seeing, I often can fail to appreciate anything else that appears not to be in line with what's happening economically. I've also pretty much grown up in the West, although I was born in Kenya. I've lived in the West for most of my life. And because of that, I've mostly interacted with a government that, government that function, or government that have shame, for lack of a better word. So I cannot imagine, for example, Joe Biden in the U.S. appointing criminals with court cases to government. I cannot imagine Joe Biden, appointing people like Mwangi Wairiria, a guy that has a criminal case in court today. That's something that will be so beyond the pale in the U.S. that I cannot even fathom it. And so part of my frustration is that, I see this deficiency in anger among Kenyans, right? So I wake up and I look at all these things that I'm seeing and I wonder, are we all seeing the same things? Is it just me, right? I wake up and, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest in terms of anger, I'm at a 15, right? Because I just can't take it. I can't take what's happening. And I ask myself, where is the anger, right? Where is the anger? And, when I look at what we've seen over the last 6 months, right? I was very encouraged in June. I was very encouraged in July when I saw Kenyans tell their president, we are not tenants in your kingdom, right? We decide the rules of the game in this country. We decide who our leaders are going to be and how they're going to govern us. The fact that we've elected you to be our president does not give you carte blanche to appoint criminals and thieves into office. The fact that we've elected you to be our leader does not mean that we allow criminality and corruption to go on at the levels that we are seeing. So I was very encouraged. But then when I look at where we are now, I just, again, I just struggle. And I appreciate the insights from Redempta, very helpful. It's hard to not feel defeated sometimes because, you think you're making progress, right? Kenyans died on the street. I mean, Kenyans died on the streets to try and achieve change. And if we had seen a president that is remorseful, if we had seen a government that says we are going to elect people into office, into these positions based on qualifications, based on ethics, based on what they can do for Kenyans, based on what they've done, I mean, you will feel encouraged. I mean, nobody's asking for miracles. We're not asking for 100% change in 6 months, but we do want to see progress. But, when I ask you to look at the people that are in government today, look at all these CSs that have been appointed to office and ask yourself, what progress have we made? When we are, when we wake up and we see Mwangi Wairiria being appointed to office, when we wake up and we see William Kabogo being appointed to office, when we see Liknyanjui being appointed to office, when we see Evans Kidero being appointed to office, what are we supposed to make of this? What are we supposed to make of it? And I understand it's, again, I am much more closer to corruption than a lot of other people. But I also like to think that I'm a very tenacious guy. I'm not a guy who gets defeated easily. And so when I feel this the way I am, I just can't imagine what the average Kenyan is going through, right? What they are, what they're feeling like. And so I think that's why, I can often come across as someone who has a ton of vision. It's because, in my view, we can, there are a lot of things you can look at that, that you might consider positive. But in my view, when we have an economy that's in shambles, right? When we have an economy that I believe is going to collapse, I don't see any of the other things as being that significant, any positives, right? I fail to appreciate the importance when I think that the larger picture is we have a country that's going to the dogs, going to the gutter, and there's nothing that we are doing to fix it. So I think that I want to echo what I think it was Joshua that said, we cannot focus on 2027. I 100% believe that we don't have the luxury of waiting until 2027. And this is why I say that. Our country economically just doesn't have room for that, right? You've heard me talk about where we are economically. I've told you that we're in so much debt as a country that today our country spends more money paying interest than we spend on anything else combined. If you take how much money we spend on interest alone, you put that into one bucket. And then you take what we spend on healthcare, what we spend on education, what we spend on national, security, what we spend on development, and you put that into one bucket. What we spend on interest alone is higher than any of those other buckets combined.